for today, we are going to learn a lot from this video because I, Teacher Sophia, and Teacher Apple are going to help you learn and understand one of the approaches in second language teaching, and that is all about differentiation instruction approach. So before introducing, let's have first the misconceptions on this approach. So one of the most highlighted misconceptions is that teachers are going to create different assessments as he views his students different from each other. Teacher Apple, do you know any misconceptions on this approach?
Well, Christina Dubey lists misconceptions about differentiation. First, differentiation in the classroom means never using the whole class instruction. Differentiation is all about low versus high level students.
To correct these misconceptions, let's have Teacher Apple to tell us what is this approach all about. I know you guys are all excited, so without further ado, let's hop on the video right away.
Well, Teacher Sophia, differentiated instruction approach is one of the approaches and methods in language teaching that is designed to see students as different individuals when it comes on learning the instruction by providing different teaching approaches. Different instruction approach also acknowledge the students' individual learning styles and levels of readiness first before designing a lesson plan. Differentiation also refers to a wide variety of teaching techniques and lessons adaptations that educators use to instruct a diverse group of students with diverse learning needs in the same course, classroom, or learning environment. There are 7 differentiation methods. Using these methods in teaching, differentiation approach becomes possible for teachers to cater a wide range of abilities inside the classroom. The first method in differentiation approach is the flexible paced learning. Traditionally, tasks are completed in a set amount of time, which normally accommodates the slower paced learners. This can mean faster learners are held up by the pace of their peers, and slower workers feel rushed and incapable of learning the necessary pace. Second method is the collaborative learning. Facilitating group work is excellent for empowering shyer students to participate more in class. Forming mixed ability groups of pupils give high achievers a platform to vocalize their ideas and lower ability students a way of collaborating with and learning from their peers. The third method is progressive task. It is possible for teachers to set separate work or exercises to different students based on their abilities. However, this approach can pose a few problems. Not only does it highlight student ability more publicly with potentially negative social implications, it also requires considerably more administrative work for the teacher. The fourth method is digital resources. By using interactive tools and digital applications, mixed ability classes get the opportunity to approach a topic or subject from different angles. Next method is the verbal support. Verbal dialogue is essential to this method of differentiation. Teachers can identify different learning abilities and adopt their vocal explanations and support the different academic levels. The next one is the variable outcomes. Rather than setting a task with a single outcome or right answer, taking a more interpretive approach to an exercise gives students the flexibility to arrive at a more personalized result. And the last method is the ongoing assessment. Regular assessment and feedback allows teachers to adapt their teaching methods according to their various pupils' needs and learning conditions. Assessment currently takes place both throughout the year and at the end, it is scoped to entirely rethink the end-of-year reporting process. There are also several examples of differentiated instruction approach. It can be using reading materials at varying readability levels, putting text materials on tape, using spelling or vocabulary lists at readiness levels of students, presenting ideas both auditory and visual means, and using reading buddies. Grouping, varying amounts of time, or changing the tasks are the most common types of differentiation. As far as grouping goes, students can be grouped by ability levels, interest, or intermingled levels of understanding. Grouping students by similar ability levels help both teachers and students. When students work in groups, teacher can work one-on-one with each group and give very direct instruction to each group based on their needs. Intermingled groups allows for more collaboration between students.
Thank you, Teacher Apple. So, what does differentiated instruction looks like in a classroom? Well, according to Mr. Shelton, there is no correct method on differentiated instruction. Given all the instructional strategies and practices teachers can employ, differentiated instruction can also take into many forms, like for example, shifting from a traditional classroom to a differentiated classroom, because teachers must encourage an environment that supports learning, leads students, responds to their differences, and manage their routines. Thus, varying the amount of time or changing tasks are great alternatives. So it does not only mean that teachers can group students that share similarities. Teachers can also group students that have different abilities or talents because it will stimulate their senses to cooperate or support one another. Also, giving students tasks that allows them to move at their own pace will help them engage in learning and develop their creativity throughout the lesson. So, if you're thinking, what is the role of the teacher in differentiated instruction approach? Well, the teacher is the organizer of learning opportunities in the classroom. He or she must capture the attention of the students because this will lead to their engagement in understanding the lesson and learning the lessons. In a differentiated classroom, students' differences and needs are highlighted. This teaching approach is student-centered as it focuses on reading your students and preparing lessons to fit their needs. If you're thinking, what about the role of the learners? Good question, because in this approach, students need to monitor their own behaviors. They also need to remind and motivate themselves to meet the behavioral standards of this approach. In line with this, learning techniques can also be exercised by the methods they most excel at, because again, in this approach, abilities and skills are emphasized and allowed. To wrap up everything on these discussions, let's have the impressions on this approach. So like other approaches in second language teaching, differentiation also plays into ongoing debates among equity in students' performance and academic tracking in public schools. Although it has been facing a lot of criticisms, it doesn't take away the fact that in general instructional strategy, differentiation shares similarities with scaffolding, which refers to instructional techniques used to move a student's understanding and having greater independence in the learning process. It is because differentiation and scaffolding used to have similar goals, and that is to keep moving students' understanding and learning to where it is to where it needs to be.
We finally come at the end of this lesson. Differentiated instruction is an approach in which teacher really adjusts the curriculum to maximize the learning of all students. Right, Teacher Sophia?
Yes, Teacher Apple. Collaborations with different schools are also evident, according to some researchers, because this will help them in their professional development.
Yes, because teachers who implemented this approach can also work together to create ideas for instructions, and teachers who have less experience can seek for advices.
Indeed. Now, we hope our dear viewers have finally understand this approach. Let's have an interactive discussions in some other time.